Hi there, and welcome to episode 11 of the Knitter Next Door podcast. You are joining me, Angie B, in my home in Mansfield in Nottinghamshire. That's fairly centrally located within the UK. I live here with my husband Richard and our two sons, Ezra and Aidan. Ezzy is 2 and Aidan's 13. We've got a silly staffy called Layla, who you'll probably hear in the background snorting and tapping about in a bit. We've also got 2 naughty Bengal cats called Lily and Teddy, who are fast asleep and sunning themselves at the moment. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and spending some more time with me. And if you're new to the show, welcome along. Thank you very much for giving it a try. I hope you enjoy it. We're mostly about knitting, as probably the name would suggest. But certainly I crochet, I do spinning, I've just started weaving as well. So there's generally other fibercraft things included in the show, not just knitting. So it's an extra special episode this time. We have reached 1,000 subscribers in between the last time and today. So there will be a giveaway, and I'll talk about that some more towards the end. So do stay tuned for that if you're interested. So then moving into finished objects. The first one that I wanted to show you is the one that I have on right now. And this is a design by Laura Nelkin that I test knitted actually last month for her. Took me about 6 days to knit, so dead proud of that. And this one is called Kitty. I'm just going to stand up and give you a good look at it. So, this is a really, really interesting piece to knit. It was so addictive as well. Laura has come up with a construction that she calls the Novus construction, and she's knitted, or designed, should we say, several sweaters with this construction. And what it is, you start here and you knit side to side. So with this one, the gauge is actually more important in this direction. So it's kind of the height of the rows, or the rows per inch, that's the thing that you're the most concentrated with, and the stitches are kind of by the by, but you use that to adjust the length of it. So you have to be really quite careful about how you measure gauge, but once you've done that, you're dead set. So you cast on here and then work this way. You make extra stitches down the body to the front and at the back, and that then determines how long this sort of stockinette portion is and where you want that to sit on the body. You then knit right the way across and lose stitches here and then finish on that sleeve. The front and back are then joined together by virtue of this sort of panel underneath the arm here. So that's how you sort of get the construction of the basic piece at the top. After that, for this particular sweater, which is different to the other Novus ones that Laura's designed, you pick up right the way round. So all the way around there, you pick up the stitches, and then you're knitting in the round and down to make the lace panel at the bottom. And Laura's provided instructions as to how to centre the lace properly on the body and that sort of thing. And you can just keep repeating the laces as long as you want it to be. So it's really nicely written, and it's really adjustable so that you can make it yours and you can make it fit you how you want it to fit. The pattern comes in loads of different sizes, right up to, I think, something like a 58-inch bust. It's designed to be worn with sort of varying amounts of ease as well. You can wear it with loads, or like I've got probably about 2 or 3 inches of ease in mine, and I think that's a fit that I'm comfortable with. So there's a real broad range in there. This isn't the smallest size that I knit. This is extra small, but it goes down to sort of a double XS, and I think at the other end it's like a triple X. So it's pretty size inclusive, I would say. The yarn that I chose is partially what was recommended in the pattern. Laura recommends that you use the Capital Luxury Lace from Neighbourhood Fibre Company, held double with their Loft, which is a kid mohair and silk blend. I didn't have enough of this to be able to use this as the mohair. I didn't really want to have to buy any more, so I used Drops Kid Silk with mine, but I have used the Capital Luxury Lace as the main yarn. That runs at somewhere around about 500 meters or so, I think, to 100 grams, something in that region. It's a lovely blend of fibre. Let me see if I've got that in my book, what it is. I don't have the ball band anymore, but I wrote it all down. Excuse me. So yeah, it's MCN, so 80% merino, 10% cashmere and 10% nylon. This one is in the colourway Cayuga Lake, and as I say, it's Petrol is the Kid Silk by Drops that I've used to hold double with it. I just think the colour's absolutely beautiful, really is. So, I don't know, deep. It's got such a depth to it. It's not solid colour, it's kind of tonal. It just changed very slightly. And yeah, it just gives it this real richness and depth. It's so soft as well, so incredibly soft, and I just think this piece is so versatile and wearable. You know, you can kind of put stuff underneath it if you wanted to, if you're not comfortable with having sort of the lace over your midriff. You can change where that sits if you're not, you know, so it's ultimately very adjustable and very wearable. The pattern is currently 20% off in Laura's Ravelry shop. There's no coupon needed, and I will link to that below. Just to warn you though, the full pattern isn't out until, I think it's something around the 11th of April, somewhere there. So a couple of weeks yet. So if you were to buy the pattern at the moment, what you would get is a schematic to kind of show you how it's constructed, how to measure your gauge, so how to choose yarn if you don't want to use what's been suggested, and how to make a proper gauge swatch, because it's a little bit different with the emphasis being on the rows rather than the stitch gauge. So all of that information's in there, as well as the sizing information, so that you can choose the one that's going to be just right for you. So when the pattern is fully released, it all comes out together, although Laura has also put a little plan in her Ravelry group whereby there's a knit along going on, and it's done, you know, we'll knit this bit on this week and then that bit on the other week, and I think the plan is to knit it by something like the end of May, so there's plenty of time to do that if you wanted to join in and then be in with a chance of winning a prize. So do check that all out, and I'll put all the details below. And as I say, if you're interested in knitting this pattern, now's the time to buy it, because there's 20% off in Laura's shop, although just bear in mind that you won't get the full pattern for another couple of weeks, but don't wait to buy it, because then you won't get your discount. Okay, so moving on to some socks. These ones, it's been a bit of a funny month for me actually. I've spent quite a bit of time either in hospital or ill or doing hospital-y, appointment-y related things for other people. It's been a bit of a nightmare, to be fair. But I'm fine and everything's okay, so please don't worry. I had to go in for a lumbar puncture, probably middle of March, and so I cast these on the way to hospital, and then had plenty of time to work on them whilst I was in. Yeah, so they took me probably a few days to make all in. So these are the Rose City Rollers by Mara Catherine Briner, or Orange Knits. So that's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'll just hold this up. I've made some of these before. I made a little pair for Ezra. But yeah, they are cast on at the top. You just knit straight stockinette for an inch or so, then it goes into a heel flap and gusset, and yeah, and just standard toe close. It's a square toe. If I take it off, you'll be able to see that's the way that the toe looks. The yarn is from Regia. It's my first Regia, it's called. They're little tiny, really cute 25-gram balls, come in all different sorts of colours. And one ball made one sock perfectly, and I've got tons of them kicking about. So I thought, yes, I'm going to use those for me. So this one is in the colour 688. I don't think they have names, or certainly not I can see on the band. I think if you go I got mine from Wool Warehouse. If you have a look on the website, I think some of the colourways do have names, but yeah, on the band it just says 688. It's just a standard sock wool, really. It says 75% virgin wool and 25% polyamide. Okay, so yeah, I just thought they were really happy and pretty, and it gave me something to keep my hands busy whilst I went to hospital for not a nice procedure. So that's those. So I've got another pair of socks, and these, I'm ashamed to say, have been about a year, probably a bit longer in the making. They are the Uffy from Tantal to Socks book, which is a book by Anna Bergman, and here they are. They're designed to look like a princessa torta. I'll be able to show you, there's a picture in the book. So it's basically a cake that has kind of roses on it and green and white icing and stuff like that. Really, really beautiful cake. And yeah, they do a good job of resembling that. Colorwork was not my friend at the time that I first started these, and particularly trying to do it with magic loop. I sort of mashed that a little bit, but never mind. The second sock that I did, my decreases for the gusset were far too close together. I forgot to put a round in between each one, so I've got one gusset that kind of was a bit wonky at the start, but it's at the right rate of decreases, and then the other one that's really like sharp, but by the time I noticed it, I was like so over knitting these that I could not be bothered to rip it back and redo it. They're really beautiful, really beautiful, and the fit is probably the best out of any of the socks that I've made so far, so I really need to sort of keep note of the needles that I used and you know, the gauge that this has produced for me. Here, tell you what, here's the book. It's Tantal to Socks by Anna Bergman. This, certainly when I got it, was only available via Anna's website, so the Tantal to website itself. So what I'll do is I'll link to that below. I'm fairly certain that's still the case now as well. I heard about this book via Skeindier's podcast, yeah, probably early last year sometime. And it's beautiful, it's absolutely beautiful. You can see from the front lots of examples of different socks that are in the book, and then there's some more on the back. Look, it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. The way that it's done as well, there's different recipes for heels and gauges and stuff to be able to sort of adjust them yourself. So it's really cleverly done. I would definitely recommend this book if you like the look of the socks on the front there and like a nice colourwork sock. It's a fantastic one. She's got a mittens book as well that I also have. I've not knitted anything from there. So yeah, my experience with this first sock, please don't take that to mean that there's anything wrong with the patterns. There's not. It was me, very inexperienced, hadn't done much of any colour work at the time that I took these on, and then sort of, yeah, not really knitted much in the way of socks either, so just made a few mistakes and it sort of put me off, and then it's taken me a while to go back to them. But the patterns are gorgeous, and I will certainly be knitting some more from here, so this isn't the last you've seen of this book. Whew, that was a mouthful. So I did say I was going to show you this page. So that's a princessa torta. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. It's something like that. But you can see the colours kind of reflected from the cake into the socks, and the little rose on there as well. Knitted properly there instead of my version. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it absolutely beautiful? So I've taken them off the sock blocker so that I can just give you a little bit better look at them. So this one I've left unfinished so that you can see how this bit actually works. Basically you cast on at the top and then just knit plain for a little bit, stick some eyelets in, and that, when you fold it over, gives you this really beautiful sort of picot edging. I think how pretty that looks. Coming down the back, it goes into, I think it's called an eye of partridge heel. So it's kind of knit one, slip one type effort that you see in a lot of heels, and then you sort of purl across those stitches, and then you knit one, slip one, but it's the opposite stitch that you slip in. So, and then you keep alternating those rows, which gives you this kind of like a waffle texture, I guess. Standard heel turn and then picking up along the flap, and then just the normal way of creating the gusset. When I say the normal way, this was not normal to me at all when I first tried to do it. So hence the like mashing it on this side and then this one just completely getting that wrong altogether. But there we go. Live and learn, and I won't do it again. Or maybe I will, but I'll try not to do it again. So yeah, I really think these are so pretty. You have different options for closing the toe. This one, it's kind of like a nipple closure. So yeah, I think I'm going to coin that, the nipple close. I don't know what it's actually called, but yeah, it looks a bit dodgy, doesn't it? So there we go. So the very, very last thing you do with these ones is you decrease right down, it goes quite circular, and then at the very, very end you've got just a few stitches and you thread through and pull it tight. So yeah, that gives you the nipple close. Have I said nipple enough times? I don't think I have. Maybe I should say it a few more times. See how many dislikes I can get on this video. I'm really sorry. There we go. One more pair of socks and then I'm done, I promise, with socks. So this is a pair that I've started for Rich. This was my cast on the way to Edinburgh Yarn Festival, actually, in the car. I just wanted something really simple and easy to make, and Rich has been petitioning for a pair of socks for a while. He wanted some of these ankle socks as well. So same again, it's the Rose City Rollers pattern. I really, really love this. I think it's nice just to have an ankle sock, particularly as we're coming into sort of spring, summer. You don't necessarily want to wear big, thick wool socks, but just to have something just kind of covering your feet in an evening is nice. So these are knitted in, and I say these, I've got the other one in progress at the moment. These are in this, it's another Regia, and it's Kathy Fassett has designed this particular line. 4-ply again, just standard sock yarn again. This colour is 03771. So that's really descriptive for you. But again, I'll link it below so that if you're interested in that particular one, you can find it. I bought this at a local yarn shop that's since closed down, but I'm sure you'll be able to find it online somewhere. I'll have a look and link it below for you. So yeah, that's Richie B's socks. And yeah, that's how far I've got with the second one. Ooh, now this was made by a lady called Sharon Izzard, who has a shop called Savour of Salt. Again, I'll link that below. But how cool is that as an idea, just to keep your DPNs wrangled whilst you're not using them, just to stop all these getting untidy and sticky to stuff. So yeah, and that's why I need it. So this is the second one. So last night I just finished the heel flap, turned the corner, and I've started the gusset. And look, now I can actually do a gusset and get the decreases correct on both sides. Woohoo! I'm learning, guys, I'm learning and getting better. So I've got another finished sweater since the last time I saw you, and that is this one. So this is my Guthrie, which is a pattern, for those of you that perhaps don't know, by Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks. And yeah, look at it, isn't it beautiful? So pleased with this. This is the first all over Colorwork sweater that I've ever knit. Because it's knitted in a double knit weight of yarn, so that's kind of double the thickness of fingering 4-ply yarn, it knits really, really quickly. I think probably if you added together the time, I sort of spread it out and knit other things in between, but if I'd knitted solidly on this, I could have had it done in a couple of weeks. It was ridiculous how fast it grew. I knitted one of the sleeves twice because what I did was I knitted them quite long. In the pattern, she gives you sort of instructions as to how to lengthen the sleeves if you want to by repeating bits of the Colorwork. So I did 2 repeats of this here, which I think it's just charted as 1. But then when I came to the second sleeve, I forgot. And so I went into my cuff oh yeah, I've finished, and I hadn't. So I had to undo it and make this bit and then put the cuff on again, which was a pain actually, and I wish I'd caught that beforehand, but I didn't, and so there we go, never mind. But it's done now and I love it. And for those of you that want to see, let me turn it inside out so you can see my floats. Let's say this is the first time I've done an all-over Colorwork sweater. I've done Colorwork before now, a few times now, which seems bizarre to say because I've not actually really been knitting that long. But yeah, this is the first time I've done an all-over Colorwork sweater. And there you go, there's the inside. I spoke last time about how I managed to sort of get the Colorwork to not pucker, and that's all based on some advice that Skandia gave in her podcast about what she calls blocking on the needle. So basically, whilst you're knitting, when you're going to carry a float, you need to really stretch the stitches out on the needle before you carry the float past them. And that, although whilst you're knitting it looks like the floats are going to be too loose even, invariably they aren't. And as you can see, I've used that technique and those floats don't look baggy, but there is no puckering. So yeah, I knitted this in the smallest size. The yarn is from John Arbon. It's his Knit by Numbers double knit range. The shades 079, because he just numbers them, he doesn't give them names, and I think it's 03, so 079 being the sort of mauvey pink colour and the number 3 being the grey. Sorry for all the clattering in the background, that's Bernard. She's lying in the sun in front of the window, like toasting herself, getting too hot, and then she sort of staggers off and cools down on the floor. And then repeats. Rinse and repeat. Gets up when she gets cold, goes back in the sun, toasts herself, gets fed up, comes back on the floor. So thanks, Layla. But yeah, so that's my Guthrie. I have posted a few bits and pieces of this online of me wearing this, so there's evidence of it in fact on Guthrie Street in Edinburgh, which I thought was quite funny. I don't know, should I put it on? Shall we do it? I'll tell you what, I will. Let me put it on. So here we go. Here's my finished Guthrie as modelled on the Human. It's quite a tight fit, and I did it that way on purpose. I think the sweater's designed to be worn with, quite a few inches of ease. But what I've done is I've just knitted it in the smallest size, so it would give me a nice sort of fitted sweater. I just prefer to wear my clothes that way. It's probably a little bit too tight over the arms, if anything, but a little bit heavier than usual at the moment anyway. I always put weight on over winter and then kind of take it off again in the summer. It's just what I do. But therefore this will never fit because I'm not going to be wearing it in summer. But hey ho, never mind. It's a little bit tight. It's fine. I don't mind. It's comfortable to wear. And I tell you what, it's so warm. We went to Edinburgh for the festival last weekend, and we hiked part of the way, not all the way up, Arthur's Seat, and I was wearing just this, and I tell you what, it was plenty warm enough. It was quite cold up there, and the wind was roaring and stuff, but no, I was perfectly warm in this. So yeah, dead pleased with it. Let me show you how that fits on the rest of me. See if I can get a bit higher up so you can see that. So yeah, I'm pleased with it. I'm really happy with it. I think it's a beautiful sweater, and yeah, it was a joy to knit. So that's that one. This is one of the slight issues I have with this jumper, is taking it off again. I made the neckline a little bit too tight. It's kind of like you give yourself a facelift when you take it off. It's like being born. There we go. Oh God. Right. Moving swiftly on. So, right then, so moving into works in progress. I've got several bits and pieces on the needles in various stages, but probably the one that's closest to being finished now is this one, which is the As If Tee by Shay Johnson. So she's Knit and Crochet on Instagram, and I saw this when she first brought it out and thought how beautiful it was, and then Christy Glass showed it on her podcast as well. And yeah, so I've had my eye on making it for a while, but I don't have the right yarn in stash to do it, because it calls for an Aran weight, and I've got very little in that weight, and really didn't want to have to buy anything. So I found this. Now this is it's just an acrylic yarn by, I think it's Red Heart. I'll check that in a minute for you. But actually, it's knitted up really, really nicely. The mohair, I've no idea. It's just sort of a random skein that was sort of minus a ball band in the back of the cupboard. So I couldn't tell you what it is if I wanted to. But I like how this is knitting up. It's knit flat in separate pieces and then seamed up. It's been a while since I've actually done mattress stitch, but I think I've done a pretty decent job of the seam there down the side. And then you can see it's just seamed along the shoulder here. You pick up stitches to knit the collar on and the sleeves as well. And you can see you just kind of, for some parts of it, just holding the mohair double with the Aran. I might just pop this on for you and show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like on then, or at least gives you a bit of an idea about what it will look like. I've still got to finish seaming up at the sides and over the top of that shoulder, but that gives you kind of the general idea. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it. It's quite cropped at the bottom. I'll just kind of give you an idea about that. Probably I would tend to want to wear it with sort of a higher waisted pair of trousers or a skirt, because I'm personally not massively comfortable with showing my midriff, but yeah, very, very wearable, very nice, and you can soon, you know, wear it with other things, or if you wanted to, you could always knit the body longer anyway. So yeah, it's lovely. Really, really quick knit with it being Aran weight yarn, and yeah, it's really lovely. So that's that one. So just briefly, this is the pattern then. So the As If Tee by Shay Johnson, and the yarn that I used is this one here. So it's the Heartland actually by Lion Brand. It's not Red Heart at all. That's me being silly. It's 100% acrylic. It's an Aran weight yarn, and it is in the colour 113, which is Redwood. Okay, so that's what I used. As I say, the mohair, I just don't know exactly what it is at all. It was ball bandless in the back of the cupboard. It's something I've had for ages, as is this as well. Which leads me on, actually. I've entered this into the make-along that Barbara and Leslie are running. So that's Leslie from the Never Enough Yarn podcast, which you must go and check out if you haven't already. She films sort of over the course of a month and puts an episode out every month, but you get bits of her in the car on the way to work, in her office, and here, there and everywhere, and you just kind of, you feel the flow of the month going along, and she takes you on kind of a journey through each episode. And then you've got Barbara. She has the Flame and Fibre podcast. So not only does she do lots of beautiful knitting, and there's always tons of content, she's actually a lamp worker as well. So she's done some episodes including lamp work, which is just fascinating, absolutely fascinating to watch. So do go and check both of those out if you haven't already. But yeah, together they're hosting a make-along for the year, and the idea being that you use up stash, and there's lots of different prizes to be won that are being picked for periodically throughout the year. So yeah, definitely check it out. There is a hashtag on Instagram as well, which I'll put on the screen. Not entirely sure, it's something like KAL 2019, but I'll pop it here so that you'll know, and go check it out, go and enter. So I've put in a little bit more progress on my Sweet Vicious knit, which is living inside this bag from my cottage number 9. This is the wraparound bags that I absolutely love. I've shown these probably every episode for about the last 4 episodes, but I'm just going to show you again because look at it. You use it like a normal bag, but then it's got a beautiful handle that wraps around, and the fabric is so sturdy, and I love them. So there we go. That's the wraparound bag from my cottage number 9. Right, shut up. Okay, anyway, inside there is my Sweet Vicious knit. Now this is a design by Stephanie Earp, and here it is. and I was talking about this last time. It was the stitch pattern that particularly sort of jumped out at me when I saw it on Instagram, and so I bought this at the back end of last year, and I've been knitting it really slowly, and at the moment I've kind of forgotten where I am in the pattern, and so it's making it really difficult to knit it, which is really frustrating because I want to go ahead and finish it. And I'm not actually that far away from doing so, but I tell you what I need some time to be able to sit down away from social media, away from YouTube and Instagram and everything else, and the kids and all the other stuff that's going on, and just read it and figure it out, because it's not that difficult. It can't be that difficult, but at the minute I'm on a bit of a brain fart with it, I guess. Hey ho, not to worry. So I'm going to try and show you where I am. Here we go. I think this is it. So this is the front of the garment. I mentioned last time it's supposed to be an I-cord cast on at the bottom, but I've just done it in like a little bit of twisted rib. And then this is the front, and what I've done is I've split for the front and back. You can see here's the back, and I've now knit up one side of the neck sort of thing. So that's going to be the neckline there, and then it comes up in two panels either side. So I've got, I don't know, maybe another couple of inch here to get to the shoulder, and then I'll have finished the front all together, and then I'll go around and knit up the back. So that's what that's looking like. I say I just need a bit of time to myself to be able to sit and figure out where I am and start again, because it's not difficult to do. It's just a bit time consuming making these tucked stitches, but the effect is so beautiful that it's going to be entirely worth it. And this is going to be such a lightweight sweater anyway. It's not really got much in the way of sleeves or anything, so this will be perfectly wearable through spring and summer when I finally do get round to finishing it. So that's that one. The yarn is, as I said, is from Pineapple Yarn, and it is a sparkle sock and a mohair held together. This one is in the colourway Spiced Rum, and this one is Sip Sip Knit. I know Pineapple Yarn's Marina, she's taking a little break at the moment from her shop, so you wouldn't be able to get hold of these at the moment. However, she will be coming back. We've just not had a date for when that will be just yet. But what I will do is I'll link to her website so that you can check her out. She's also got a podcast, and the podcast is still ongoing. She's recording every single week, and she knits some beautiful things, and she also does spinning as well, so do check out her podcast, and yeah, go and meet Marina if you haven't already. She's so lovely. So yeah, that's the yarn. Okay, so one other thing that I have on my needles at the moment, I showed in the last podcast, and that is Cobbling Around, which is the most recent instalment of the N Club by Laura Nelkin. So that's going to look like this. Beautiful Shetland lace shawl. It is made with some yarn from Essence of Autumn. Now this blend of fibre is really different. It's alpaca tencel nylon, so 35, 55, 10% respectively. There are 1,095 yards in 150 grams, and this has been dyed in the colourway Cobblestones of Scotland. And look at it, look at the sheen. It's silky soft, and but really durable and beautiful, and it's been chosen by Laura because it would be something different that we were unlikely to have used before, and because it'll stand up to having beads threaded onto it. So this particular shawl, the way that it's beaded, the beads don't go on as you knit. They'll be threaded onto the yarn and then pulled up the yarn to knit them in. There's different ways of achieving beading in knitting. So that's that. And here is where I've got to. So it's difficult to show you this properly because for it to actually look anything like it's supposed to, it needs to be blocked. But obviously I can't do that until I'm finished. But you get the gist. I've done quite a lot of it. We're sat on about 450-ish stitches in the round now. The last time I showed you, I was working straight. That's one thing Laura is amazing at doing, is coming up with different construction methods, and or just using, you know, surprising techniques and things like that. And so this started off along the long edge of a rectangular section, and you did a provisional cast on, and then some of this sort of like bird's eye type lace, and then it went into these kind of semicircular, I don't know quite how else to describe this lace section here, for a bit, and then you did more bird's eye at the bottom, and kind of around the sides as you went up, following a couple of different charts to do it, and then once that central rectangular pattern was finished, what you did was you picked up stitches just along one edge, about 60 stitches or so on each edge, and then you unzipped your provisional cast on, pick up on the other edge, and then start knitting in the round. At the corners you've got kind of yarn overs, almost like you would making a raglan, you know. So you just put the increases in every other round as yarn overs, and that's turning it into sort of a big rectangular shape. From there, I've nearly finished this section now. So this has just been stockinette and garter stitch alternated for a little while, with just these yarn overs in the corner. So that's been a bit of a break from all the lace. So that's been a little bit more just, you know, knit, 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 knit. So that's been easy. But I'm just about to hit the next lace section, which will be on the top and bottom of that rectangle. That section is going to have a load of beads in it, so I'm really looking forward to getting my teeth into that. And then once I'm finished, there are sort of wings that go on at each end. So yeah, it's gorgeous. It's really, really gorgeous. The yarn is such a beautiful colour, and such an amazing blend, just totally different to anything else I've ever knit with. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. These little stitch markers that I've put in here are just to aid the counting. I like to put one in sort of every 20 stitches. That way, when I come to count, I've not got to try and go all the way around. I can just go 20, 40, 60 and so on and so forth. And it just makes it a lot easier to manage, and to make sure that I'm keeping my stitch count accurate right the way through. I put different markers in for counting to what I put in the corners for keeping the corners and the beginning of the round. This is actually something I bought at Edinburgh, but what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit more about that at the very end of the show. So there we go, that's my cobbling around. I'll keep you up to date with this as it keeps growing. But yeah, I can't wait to show it you once it's actually finished. And the other thing I would say as well is, to anybody, if you're intimidated by knitting lace, please, please don't be. It looks way more difficult than it actually is. If you can slip, slip, knit, and knit two together and do a yarn over, you can do lace. You just need to do those in the right places, and this emerges. The reason it looks so fussy, I think, really is because just the amount of yarn overs, and also because you're knitting at a really loose gauge for the yarn. You can see how see-through that is. So when you sort of combine that with yarn overs, that's how you get all this effect. But it's no different to any other knitting that you would ever do. So please don't be intimidated by lace. Just give it a try, because it's really quite satisfying. And then once you block it at the end and you see that pattern really ping out, it just makes it so worthwhile. So there we go, that's my shawl. So just one other thing to mention about Laura Nelkin is that I met her in person at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and bless her, she took me to the photo booth and we got pictures, and I was like a little kid at Christmas. It was ridiculous. You know what? Meeting kind of your idols in the knitting world. It's like, I don't know, it's like meeting like Elton John or something. That's really horrible. She's not Elton John, you know what I mean? But like meeting someone uber famous. And yeah, so I was dead excited, and she just sort of totally went with it and let me be all giddy and weird and didn't bat an eyelid at all. And so yeah, that's me and Laura, and there I'm wearing Kitty, and yeah, I can just say she is the nicest person you could possibly wish to meet in person. And yeah, hi Laura, if you're watching, it was lovely to meet you, and I think you're amazing, so there we go. So the last thing that I've got on the needles to show you is this one here, and this, excuse all my yarn dangling from it, this is the Committed Cardie by Cassandra Rizzardi, or Rizanits as she's probably better known on Instagram and everywhere else. So the feature about this particular pattern is that a lot of it is knitted in double knitting, and by double knitting I don't mean the weight of yarn, I mean it's reversible stockinette stitch. So look, you've got knit stitches visible on this side and also on the back. It's a double thickness piece of fabric that you're creating. You basically alternating knit and purl stitches, but as you do it you've got two yarns, so one in each hand or however you prefer to hold them, and you knit with the first and purl with the second, but at all times you have both yarns held to either the front or the back. So if you're knitting, both yarns are at the back. If you're purling, both yarns come to the front. So all the carries are kept in between these two pieces of fabric, and in effect you're just knitting two pieces of fabric at the same time. You get a break in between these double knit sections, so this is just both the yarns held double, and you've got kind of half the amount of stitches. So you hold double for, say, argument's sake, 100 stitches, and then in this bit here, instead of holding the strands double, you knit each individual strand or knit purl, so you've got 200 stitches, and then it goes back to knitting them together again, and then double knit again, and then together again, then double knit again, so on and so forth. But you can see it makes it fully reversible. It's so beautiful. There's no particular chart or anything. She just asks you to sort of mix the colours up at random for these sections, which is actually harder than you'd think. You think do it at random, but you find yourself going 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, and then going, no, I need to do it at random, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1. And it's not random at all, but anyway, there we go. I've come to the end of all the double knitting for this particular panel piece. It's knitted in 3 sections and then seamed together. And so now from here on in, it's just garter stitch, and actually you're only using one yarn, so it's thinner here, so you get kind of like the garment will have a nice drape because you've got quite a bit of weight at the bottom, which will then just kind of pull the rest of it down, which is an interesting effect. I love the way that the colours are playing together. This was dyed by Tammy Wee Colours, so I'll link to her Etsy shop, and you'll be able to have a look at other stuff she's got. I've had this a very, very long time though. It's probably about the first indie dyed yarn that I bought, so yeah, I've had this well over a year, I would say, by now. And yeah, I bought it to make a What the Fade, but then when I saw this pattern come out, I thought that's amazing, I have to make it, because I really wanted to give double knitting a try. So that's where I'm up to with that. It's going to take me a month of Sundays, it really is, but I think hopefully should be worth it in the end. If I show you the pattern, that is an example of what the finished cardie could end up looking like. So yeah, really, really pleased with my progress on that, albeit very slow. It's something to sort of pick up here and there when I fancy a bit of something different. So that's that one. That's living inside my Clara Rose Crafts bag that was a gift from my mummy. So that's that. It needs to be a big bag because I've got like 7 skeins of yarn in here. I'll just show you all the rest of that fade. So these are the final colours that I'm working through now, and these are the 4 that I've used so far. It's a sock yarn. It's just a superwash merino nylon blend. Yeah, it's lovely, and yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you appraised of my progress. You're going to come and say hi to everybody first, just before you go to your nap. Ezra's just come home from his walk with Daddy, so he's got his brother's helmet on to show you. Come on then, you sit there then, baby, and say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. I got my
helmet. It's a helmet. It's Aiden's helmet because he's been out skateboarding. And where have you been?
I've been upstairs.
Yeah? Have you been for a walk with Daddy?
Yeah.
Yeah? Was it fun?
Yeah.
Okay, and you going for a nap now?
No.
Except you are. Sorry, baby.
No.
Oh no. Say goodbye.
Go.
Say
No.
no. We're in a no phase at the moment. She might have gathered. Give us a kiss.
No.
Don't. Oh dear. No. You thought about it though, didn't you? That's the main thing. It's the thought that counts. Mwah. I shall see you later. You're going for your nap, aren't you, buddy?
Come on.
So we've got a special guest today, and this is my son Aidan. He is 13, and towards the end of last year my mum decided to teach him how to knit, and he really took to it really quickly, and sort of immediately wanted to knit cables and brioche and all the different things. And so I got him the Guys Knit book, which is Sockmatician's knitting instruction manual for guys. And yeah, you've been working your way through that, haven't you? So what are you knitting at the moment?
A ski lift, which is by a Sockmatician. It's called a cable pattern scarf.
Let me just hold this up to the
You're
camera.
probably better at showing it.
So it's fully reversible, isn't it? The way that these
Yeah.
cables are knitted, they're sort of knit one, purl one across the cable, so that it gives the same effect on the back as the front. That's really cool, isn't it? And look how much
Yeah.
he's done. Look at that. That's amazing. For someone who's new to knitting, this is so even in terms of your gauge and stuff like that. What yarn are you using, Aidan?
I think it's Cascade 220.
Okay, yeah, lovely. So that's, I think it's a worsted weight yarn. Let's
Yeah.
have a look. Don't know what shade that is. We get, Grandma Verna bought this for you, didn't she?
Yeah, she brought me a couple skeins, so I might be able to make some other stuff from the book as well.
So I think, Aidan, you've been getting a bit bored, haven't you, with just doing the same thing over and
Tiny bit.
over. So what the suggestion has been is from his other grandma, was to actually turn this into a cowl, which
Very good idea, isn't
I'm
it?
going to be able to help you to do quite easily. And I think we've probably, yeah, that'll work, won't it?
Yes, right length, isn't it?
It is already.
That's good.
So yeah, what, I mean, how do you find the pattern?
I found it really interesting, to be honest. At the very first couple of rows, it was quite
Look at
hard.
the camera.
So like, when I was doing the first couple of rows, I found it quite challenging. I was needing to ask you about certain things quite a lot, wasn't there? And then once I got into it, it was actually pretty easy. Quite a nice pattern to follow. And then, as you were saying, I got a bit bored. But apart from that, really nice pattern.
Okay, and you've done a really good job. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, see you.
Right then, so last time I posed the question, what is your weirdest or funniest knitting story? And I got quite a few answers to that. A couple of them are a little bit lewd, so if you don't like that kind of thing, you might want to just skip this next sort of 5 minutes or so. I'll pop a little timestamp so that you can skip past it, but oh my god, some of this is really funny. Okay then, so Leslie Arnold Hopkins gets to go first. She told me that she was invited to her boss's 40th birthday party years ago. She couldn't afford a gift for him, so she knitted one, and it was a willy warmer. And apparently he had 4 names, so that made it quite long. But he was flattered, and then she just sort of added on the end, what was I thinking? So yeah, congratulations, brilliant. Then Emily was in touch, and she said her friend got her a mug as a gift, and it had a picture of yarn on it, and it said, I love playing with balls. And she told them that she would have preferred to have had a bag on it with I love a good fingering. Miriam relayed a story where she was sat in a hospital waiting room, merrily knitting away, and just kind of clocking this conversation that was happening not 2 feet away from her, where basically a husband and wife team were loudly discussing her knitting and what was she knitting and why was she knitting it and what was it and how could she do it without looking and all this kind of thing. Just she's like, yeah, I'm not deaf, I can hear. Then a lady called Nicole, hi Nicole, she said she really enjoys kind of clocking people's reactions as she's out and about knitting, and the day before she'd been at the Apple store and just kind of loved seeing the sort of reactions of the folks around her, and she just felt that knitting in public is a great conversation starter. Liz Armstrong has a funny spinning story. Oh, I love this one. So basically she had some fibre from Gillian Gladrag in the colourway Ethereal Ether, which apparently is all sort of quite nice pastel-y colours. So the way that she kind of spun it and mixed it together, it kind of came out a little bit muddied and looked more like flesh tone than anything else. So she posted a picture of it on Facebook and it was picked up by the algorithm and deleted and banned as being inappropriate content for reasons of sexual and nudity. So she said, yeah, you know, just be careful when you're applying stuff together that you don't muddy the colours too much, like I did. So there was a picture of that on Instagram of the post having been deleted and what it actually looked like. So that was that one. So then the final crazy story comes from a lady called Leslie Deerdorf, and I absolutely couldn't believe this one. Crazy stuff. Basically this lady was knitting on a pair of socks, US size 0 needles, so really quite fine ones, and there's a power cut. So the lights go out and she kind of forgets what's on her lap. Her husband came in the room with a flashlight and they had a sort of short discussion. Shall we go and light some candles? Yeah, no problem, let's sort that out. So she stood up and one of the needles sort of lodged in the carpet. And as she stood and sort of turned and put a weight forward, the torque of the movement and just the angle drove that needle kind of to bend back on itself and in and down through the top of her foot. And it went right through her foot and lodged at the base of her big toe. And oh my goodness, how unlucky is that? So then the final crazy story comes from a lady called Leslie Deerdorf. And I absolutely couldn't believe this one. I'll show you a picture at the end and you'll see crazy stuff. Basically this lady was knitting on a pair of socks, US size 0 needles, so really quite fine ones, and there's a power cut. So the lights go out and she kind of forgets what's on her lap. Her husband came in the room with a flashlight and they had a sort of short discussion. Shall we go and light some candles? Yeah, no problem, let's sort that out. So she stood up and one of the needles sort of lodged in the carpet, and as she stood and sort of turned and put a weight forward, the torque of the movement and just the angle drove that needle kind of to bend back on itself and in and down through the top of her foot. And it went right through her foot and lodged at the base of her big toe. Oh my goodness, that is just the worst thing I can think of. Good grief. But yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. Oh dear me, you poor thing. She said there's been no sort of lasting permanent damage apart from to the needle, so yay, good. So thank you very much everybody for sending in your stories. That's greatly appreciated, and I'm amused and slightly horrified all at the same time. So I hope to have passed that on in the spirit of sharing. Anyway, so yeah, just wanted to say, same as I've said the last sort of few episodes, if you did want to get in touch, if you want to have a chat, then just please do, just get in touch with me, send me a direct message, or whatever you want to do. I love to chat with the people who have been watching the podcast, and it's lovely to kind of make these fibre friends. So do feel free. And the other thing I wanted to just say was there were several people who sort of came up to me at Edinburgh Yarn Festival while I was there and just sort of said hi and that they recognised me from the podcast, and that was really nice of you, and thank you very much if you were one of those people. It's greatly appreciated, and I don't want you to think that I thought anything bad about anyone or whatever. Sometimes I think, you know, when you're kind of taken a little bit off guard, you kind of don't quite know what to say, and yeah, but it was lovely. It was really, really lovely to meet all of you. So thank you so much. You know exactly who you are. And big hugs and kisses to you. So then, just a little bit of admin this time, which is something I don't normally do. But since the last time I saw you, we've actually gone through quite a significant milestone. We've hit 1,000 subscribers. I did mention in the last episode that I noticed we were getting close, and I thought probably with any luck we would hit it. But yeah, from this morning looking at it, we're over 1,200 now. So thank you everybody for coming along and spending the time with me and for subscribing. I really, really appreciate it, and it's really exciting. So, as or by way of a thank you, I've got a little giveaway for you, and I'm really, really excited to show you because, hang on one second. You know how much I always talk about the bags by My Cottage number 9. Like usually every week I'll show one. Since I first kind of discovered them at Atlantic Knitscape last year and bought one, they're my favourite bags, absolute favourite bags. And Terry, the lady who owns that company, was kind enough to reach out and ask if I would like one of the bags for the podcast to put in as a prize. So here it is. And look how beautiful it is, and sheeps and Eastery, and I just think this is so, so gorgeous. I really, really want to like pull the straps to show you what it looks like, but I can't, because that's the thing with these. You don't do that unless it's your bag. So to be in with the chance of winning this bag, what I would like you to do is to let me know what your favourite thing is that you've ever made. Sort of fibercrafts related ideally. And you can let me know via Instagram, via the comments section here, or on Ravelry. Ideally, please, if you can, I would like it to come via Instagram. And the reason for that, what I want to try and do is to collate like a gallery of everyone's sort of favourite stuff that they've made, so that we can kind of just sort of get to see what people are doing and just make it a bit more of a, you know, a group thing. So if you are on Instagram and if you're up for doing that, then that'd be brilliant. What I'd like you to do is to tag your post with the hashtag KND1K giveaway. So KND, Knitter Next Door, KND 1K giveaway. I'll pop that on the screen as well for you, just for clarity. I am Angie B _79. So if you could @ me in that post as well, that'll help. But yeah, I'll keep an eye on that hashtag anyway. And so I will draw from entries in there. What I will do as well, though, is just say, you know, if you're not on Instagram and don't want to be on Instagram but want to enter, you can send me a picture on Ravelry. So on Ravelry, I am AngeB1979. So feel free to send me a message there and a picture. If you can't do either of those things, but you still want to enter, fine, no problem at all. Please just comment below and tell me in the comments what your favourite thing that you've made is and why it's your favourite. And so yeah, hopefully that's then all bases covered and makes it fair for everybody. What I will do is I will just collate all those three together and draw from that. I'll probably have more than this prize by next time as well. There's a couple of people who've reached out and sort of said they wanted to donate bits and pieces to the show. So for now, this is the prize, but I think by next time it probably will have increased. The other thing is I want to put a few things in there that I've made myself as well for somebody to win, or some people to win. Okay, so there we go. That's the giveaway. Good luck, everybody. Thank you very much. So then, moving into some spinning content. I've got a couple of things that I've finished, and one thing that is underway, and a couple of little bits of stash acquisition. So we've got a mix for today. This is my first finish, and you know what? I think this is probably the best spinning that I've done to date. Considering I started last September, and I've probably done about maybe 4 or 5 spins now in total. I think I'm really starting to have cracked it. I was shooting for like a fingering weight or a 4-ply weight, and it came out near as damn it. It's about 380, 390 metres here. There's about 95 grams, something like that. So that's pretty decent, I think. And yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I think it's so beautiful. The colours not really coming out too well on the screen, but you get the general gist. It's a lot prettier. It's got sort of The main colour is like a appley green. It's a braid from Sealy McWheely, which is Katie Seal. She's got a shop up in near Glasgow, and yeah, this was a braid. It's a mix of fibres. There's rose fibre in here, and let's have a look. Yeah, I've got the tag here, merino and blue-faced Leicester. So there's all sorts of different things going on with this. And then the main colour is this sort of green, but you've got flecks of peach and pink and blue going through it as well. So it's just really pretty. And there's such a lustre in there as well, which is probably mostly coming from the rose, but it's lovely. And certainly once I finished the yarn, which I did by just soaking it and giving it a snap, it's really made it feel ever so soft and beautiful. Don't know what I'm going to make, but I'm sure I can do something nice with it. I think possibly I might make some sort of lacy shawl or something. Don't know though, not quite decided. Might just keep it and pet it for a bit. So that's that one. Then I showed you a couple of podcasts ago some rainbow rollags that I'd blended. Well, I made some more of those. A friend of mine came over, Sarah, who used to own the local yarn shop, and she was really interested in the blending board, so we got it out and had a bit of a play and made some more of those sort of rainbow rollags. So I spun the original ones up and then the new ones, and this is what it made. And again, it's come out at sort of roughly equivalent to like a 4-ply type of weight of yarn. And I think it's really, really delicate and pretty. So the yarn, the fibre in here was just some mix and match bins that I found from the Wessex Woolcraft company at Yarndale last year. And yeah, I've just put these onto a blending board and made my own rollags, and that's what I've spun up from it. So that's that one. Again, no idea what I'm going to do with it, but I'm getting a nice collection of these things now. So I really do need to start looking at knitting something soon. There's the usual suspects out there in terms of knitting patterns, and there you've got your Andrea Mowry shift shawl and shift cowl and shifty sweater and stuff that seem to be the sort of in things, on trend things to knit with hand spun. But I'd like to do something different. So if anyone's got any ideas of what to knit with hand spun that maybe I could use these for, do let me know. So I'm definitely on the lookout. So something else I've been having a play with since the last time I saw you is processing my own fibre. I got a set of hand combs here that I purchased. You may or may not remember, my mother-in-law bought me a bunch of raw fleece from one of her trips up to Shetland. It's Soe fleece that she bought me, which is sort of a heritage breed of sheep, and it's quite a hairy sheep. And I've got two different types of fleece from her. I've got some really sort of hairy brown, and then more of a fluffy white. So two very, very different fleeces, but this particular animal, apparently, that's how they are. They have these two different coats. So the way that I've actually got the fibre at the moment, somebody has done some small amount of processing to it, but how it is at the moment, it's not particularly usable. It all needs to be washed. There's lots of lanolin still in there. There's lots of vegetable matter and other things, but also there's quite a few like neps and bits and bobs in it. So it needs picking and washing and doing. And I've got a carder, but what I wanted to do was have a go at combing it. So I've just been having a go with some of the like unwashed, just to have a go because I've got the cards. But basically the combs, what you do is you transfer the fibre from one comb over to the other comb, and ideally you do this somewhere where you don't mind bits and bobs falling out of it, and this ordinarily would be a chunk of the other stuff. I've already gone through this once, but just to give you an idea of the process, I'm going to go from one comb to the other, backwards and forwards, always keeping the combs 90 degrees to each other, not the same angle. And in general, were I to be doing this with the other fleece that I have, what gets left on this comb is not necessarily spinnable. It's little tiny short lengths, and usually the neps and vegetable matter and stuff like that fall out. But basically what you're doing is you're aligning the fibres so that they're all going the same direction. And so then from here you can either spin directly off of the comb, or you can create this into like a little pencil roving. Ideally you'd want to use what's called a diz, which is just something that has like a little hole in it, so like maybe a door key, that hole there, or a button or something with a hole, or like the lid off of a ketchup bottle, that type of thing would work. And you just pull the yarn through it, and then you can just spin that. So this is much more now usable than what I had before. But yeah, I'd wanted to have a play with it. So that's one of the things I've been up to. I've made myself a little swatch with those as well, spun up. It's really nice. Definitely it wants washing and lots of attention. But yeah, it gave me something to do and something to have a little play with as well. So that's that. My work in progress spin is a braid that I bought from Wool Warehouse, and it's Malabrigo Noob in the colourway Piedras. And look at that, look how beautiful that is. This is hand painted, and yeah, it's just gorgeous. This yarn is a little bit felted by the dyeing process, but literally all you need to do to make it spinnable is just to kind of break a section off and then just fluff it out. It will go. It's just, it's been hanging around a bit. The dyeing process is fairly hard on the fibres, and then, you know, it just being sort of stored in a warehouse for however long, you know, it does compact itself. But all you have to do is just fluff it out a bit, and then it spins perfectly easily. I'm spinning across the top to try and preserve some of these sections of colours rather than stripping. You can sort of strip that way and keep going and spin like that, but I wanted to preserve longer chunks of colours for this particular spin, just to see what effect that had. I've got it on the bobbin to show you, and I'm more than happy to take it off the machine to give you a little look at that. Hang on a moment. And so this is what is currently on my wheel. And I've taken it off with the flyer still attached, because this is kind of where I've got it tensioning onto there at the moment. I don't want to sort of fully take it apart, but there you go. So that's how that braid is starting to spin up. I've only done a very, very small amount at the moment. I'm using a worsted-ish technique again for this particular spin, so I'm doing sort of short forward drafts, and then just sort of smoothing back along the length of what I've pulled out. And then as I said to you before, as I'm drafting, I'm drafting backwards and forwards across the end rather than stripping the fibre. But yeah, it won't be a true worsted yarn, because the fibres in here are a bit jumbled up. It's not a combed top, it's more of a roving, which does kind of affect the final product. But yeah, it's worsted-ish. So in that same range, Malabrigo Noob, I just went for the happy bright colours. So this one is called Bea Electrica, and this one is Boreal. And yeah, these are going to be some awesome spinning. I put some pictures of these on Instagram. If you follow me there, you'll have seen these already, but I just thought it was nice to give you a look at those. Okay then, so I have actually just got into another type of craft, which I'm sure nobody's going to be particularly surprised about. If you've watched the podcast for any length of time, me falling down something else to do and make is probably never much of a shock. But this time it's weaving. So if it's the guild of hand knitters, dyers, spinners and weavers, I've got one of each now. So there we go, fully complementary set or something like that. I don't know. There's a justification in there somewhere. Grace O'Neill from Babel's Travelling Yarns podcast has been doing weaving for a long, long time on her podcast, and it's always just amazing. And it seems like such a cool way of using up hand-spun yarn. More recently, I've been watching Jade on So Perfect Pearls, and some of the stuff that she's been weaving as well is just, it's just sublime. It really, really is. So I thought, yeah, I want in on that little crew. So I bought myself a 16-inch samplet loom from Ashford, and this is my first creation. So I put a warp on the loom the first day that I got it, and then wove half of this the first night and then the second half the following day. I've not touched it since at all, but it's been really busy and I've been poorly, and then we've been in Edinburgh and all sorts of stuff, but there is a finished project to show you. At least. So let's see if I can get a little bit closer up there for you. I took a class on Craftsy, or Blueprint as it's called now, just to sort of have a look at, you know, how to do the warp and, you know, just basically how to use a rigid heddle loom. And yeah, this is what came out the other end. I'm dead pleased with it. I think it's a bit rough and ready in places. There's the odd bit here and there, look, where I've kind of missed a strand and stuff, and I had a few hairy moments with sort of broken warp threads here and there. But overall, I think it's pretty nice. And this is going to be a gift for my mum for Mother's Day, which is tomorrow here in the UK. So I'm filming this today, and knowing that definitely I'm not going to ruin her surprise by showing it to you. But yeah, it's turned out really, really nicely. This is just some random, like, Women's Institute microfiber acrylic yarn that I had in stash, but do you know what? It's so soft and lovely. And now I've kind of washed it and given it a really, really brief steam iron. It's come out beautifully. So yeah, for a first attempt, I'm pretty pleased with that. This bit here, where it's a different colour, that's me leaving in the like header. You're supposed to take that out, but I kind of quite liked just the difference in colour, so I matched it at the other side and just did a few rows of this other yarn at the other end as well. I probably wouldn't do that in future, but it was just one of those ones where I was keen to finish it. So yeah, that's my weaving. Just to show you, this is the loom. That's what it looks like. Just a picture of it on the box there. I did take a few bits of pieces of footage, putting it together, and when I was taking the fabric off the loom and stuff like that. So I think I'll pop that in here for you so you can see what that was all about. But yeah, I think me and weaving are going to have fun in future, so watch this space. So then I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Edinburgh Yarn Festival, just show you a few of the clips that I took while we were there, and just to show you some of the haul that I got. So anybody, if you're not interested in Edinburgh, this is purposefully why I've left it to the end, so that I can say goodbye to you now. I hope you enter the giveaway, and I'll see you next time. Mwah. And to anyone that is actually interested, then stick around and I'll show you what happened at Edinburgh.
I'm Richie B. I am husband to Angie B. We're making our way up to Edinburgh to go to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. Ez and I are going to Edinburgh Zoo. Angie's casting on socks for me on the journey on the way up. Which is fantastic. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your patience.
It is Wednesday the 20th, is it? Wednesday the 20th of March 2019. So we've been stuck in a traffic jam for around about the last hour or so, and the traffic's still not moving too very well, but we're at least moving a bit now. We were like literally sat still, everyone getting out of their cars and kind of standing around in the road and stretching and stuff, so at least we've got a little bit of movement now. I've just remembered that I have some homework to do. I've got a class this evening with Bristol Ivy. It's about short rows, and yeah, I have to do an inch of stocking stitch on 30 stitches using some Aran weight yarn. So here we are. This is in my little Edinburgh Yarn Festival tote from last year. Richie B went to get some water. Comes back with this.
It's economical.
Good. Look at that. That's really cool. My goodness. Yep. That's right, it is, isn't it? And where's your bedroom? You going to show me your bedroom? Where are you going to be sleeping? Wow, Ezra's got his own bed, my word. Look at that.
Look at that.
It's amazing. Are you happy?
We have a sofa.
Uh-huh.
Ezra set my sat nav.
Excellent. to climb a mountain. Coming up to the castle in the Grassmarket area, and we are off to Victoria Street, which is supposed to be what J.K. Rowling had the inspiration for Diagon Alley for. Thank you. And I will go for the Highlander, please. Thank you.
See, I was going to go for the Highlander. I'm going to go for the Highlander as well, please. Yeah.
The Highlanders. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you.
Carry on, Mr. is, but let's go for it.
What's this one? What's this?
Spring.
It is 10:10 Sunday morning, and we're going home, aren't we, matey?
Yes.
Have you had a good time?
Yes.
What did you like the best?
Like a flat.
You liked the flat? It was lovely, wasn't it?
Turn right.
And did you like meeting the ladies at Edinburgh at the festival?
Yes.
And who did you like?
I just like the chocolate.
Fair enough. Good boy. So then, day one, along the journey to Edinburgh, I cast on those socks that I showed you earlier on. We were stuck for ages in traffic on the way there. There'd been some sort of smash on the A1. So what should have been sort of a maybe 4.5, 5 hour drive turned into about 6.5 hours. We booked an Airbnb in Edinburgh, which was absolutely beautiful. We were going to go there and then go out, but in the finish up, Richard had to drop me straight off at classes while he then went to the flat. But yeah, my first thing that I did was a class with Bristol Ivy, and that was on short rows. So short rows are basically a way of changing the direction of a piece of fabric, so like a heel in a sock, or maybe put in a shoulder into a sleeve, that sort of thing. So it adds extra fabric, but without actually changing the stitch count of your fabric. So you can see here, this is like what would be a flat piece, but for the extra rows have been put in there with short rows. So the idea of the class was not to teach you what a short row is, but to give you different ways of executing the move, all the way from a very basic, you basically sort of knit across the row, turn around and knit back part way through, and then knit back across again without doing anything special, which leaves like a little hole in your fabric, through sort of a basic wrap and turn that you would find in most patterns, German short rows, Japanese short rows, all different techniques, sort of varying levels of fiddliness, and varying levels of visibility on your fabric, just depending on, you know, where you would be wanting to use them. So that was really, really interesting and really extremely useful as well. You can see some of these short rows are kind of almost invisible. So yeah, that was really cool. Really recommend that if you get the opportunity to go to that class. I know she runs it in lots of different places, not just at Edinburgh. So that was that one. From there, the following morning I went to a class with Julie Dubrow, so that's Julie Knits in Paris, and it was Design Your Dream Sweater. So this is my little sample. She got us basically just to cast on a little tiny sweater and try out different techniques in terms of how the raglan shaping works, how to achieve the increases in different ways, and then put in little short row sections in. So you can see I've got like a teeny little sweater emerging here. She talked us through how to select a yarn, get in the right gauge, and then how to apply the maths to come up with your own sweater. So that was, again, really, really interesting. She also gave us this little nifty tip using these what are called Scooby-Doos to hold your stitches, live stitches, when you go off to knit the body in the round. Rather than having to use spare cables or whatever of knitting needles, these things make an excellent stand-in and allow you to sort of try your garment on as you're going. So that's that. So again, that was a really, really interesting class, and it was lovely to meet Julie. And she's actually not quite as crazy in real life as you might sort of expect her to be if you've seen her on Instagram. She's just lovely, really, really nice, calm, and extremely knowledgeable and lovely and generous lady. So that was Julie. So in terms of stash acquisition, I bought some wax to finish my loom. So it comes unfinished, so you can kind of do with it whatever you like, but I just decided I was just waxing it. So that's that. And I bought myself a boat shuttle as well. This is a really sort of thin and narrow one, so that will work quite nicely with the particular loom that I have. Now, a boat shuttle, basically, it kind of sails along your warp threads rather than just having to pass it through. And the yarn will be wrapped around here and delivered out that little hole there, so that as you pass it through, the yarn just unravels. What I have at the moment is sticks, and you sort of wrap the yarn round the stick. So, of course, when you come through, you have to unwrap some before you put it back through to the other end. So I just decided I wanted to try out a little boat shuttle, and so that's from Weft Blown. So I bought a Dorset button making kit. Thought they were quite cute, and I got 3 skeins of yarn from Stephen and Penelope's shop, and that is, it's just a straight merino nylon sock blend yarn in the colourway Think Pink. And thought it would be nice to make myself a sweater, maybe one that's fitted to me precisely, using the lesson from Julie. So some sort of top-down raglan, design it as you go type effort is probably in the future for these. I got Jen Arnold Culliford's latest book. There is no physical copy of it, but I got her to sign me a postcard, bless her. Her book is called Boost Your Knitting. So it's like another year of techniques type of book, but this time it's coming out digitally. There'll be a new pattern release and a new technique to learn each month from now for, I can't remember how many months. But then at the end of the run, the book will be physically printed and sent out to you as well. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. So that was really, really cool. I love Jen's books. I've shown them before on the podcast, and definitely, if you aren't already aware of her work, do check her out. Go and have a look. Again, I'll put links to her website and the various different publications that she's come up with so far in the description box below. But again, just a lovely human being, just the nicest lady, and she's just a genius in terms of the way that she approaches improving knitting skills. So that's that. Pretty much everything else I bought was sort of fluff in varying states of cleanliness, bits of sheep basically. So this is a big bump of Shetland. And I think I paid maybe a tenner for that. It's about 500 grams, so that was pretty cool. I have some Wensleydale long wool, which is just beautiful, and just it's so nice. So that's that. I have some hand-dyed hand-dyed fibre, shall we say, from Undercover Otter. Kind of looks a bit like the Tits Out Collective colours. I really liked that, it stood out to me. So that's from them. And then I got this from Spin City. So those will be forthcoming spins. And then I got some kind of raw Shetland fleece as well. It's albeit raw, it's pretty clean. There's not much muck on there. So it wants a wash and it wants prepping, but I have the tools to do so. So that's cool. I really liked the colour, and yeah, £5 for that bag I thought was pretty decent. So that's really my Edinburgh purchases. I have some other acquisitions as a result of Edinburgh, but these were all gifts from my lovely friend Amelia. First of all, she made me a project bag. Now this is Amelia, who I've met as a result of the podcast. She's been in touch with me since probably somewhere around about Christmas time. I think she was watching Vlogmas. Yeah, look at this. She knows I used to keep chickens, and she saw the fabric and thought of me and handmade by Amelia. Made this bag. It's got a lady in a boat on the back. It's gorgeous. It really is nice, and there's a different fabric on the inside. So that was that. And then she wanted to add some extra squares to my memory blanket, so she again made another little bag with these sort of donut print on the fabric, and then she's hand wound all these little balls of her leftovers that she has from various different projects. And there's some just amazing yarns in here. Look at these. You've got Ushitita, Truly Hooked, Primrose Yarn Company. Oh goodness, all different. Got some from Martushka Yarns, Hedgerow Yarn Company, Cozy Posy Yarn. Look, all different. So that was so incredibly generous. Then not only that, she had a little stitch marker commissioned. This lady, she's got a company called Cedar River Knits. I'll link to her shop down below, but she makes some stunning things. And yeah, Amelia had these made specially for her friends with the maple leaf on there, because Amelia is from Canada. So yeah, that's that, and it's beautiful. Thank you very, very much indeed. And then she brought me some fibre from her stash as well. So this is from Spunky Eclectic, and it's called All the Wine, and it's 4 ounces of combed top, and it's a blue-faced Leicester. So yeah, that's beautiful and so incredibly generous of you, and thank you so very, very much indeed. Richard and Ezra joined me for the second day as well. They came in on the Friday afternoon and got to meet people, which was lovely because there's a lot of people like Grace and Marceline Smith from Hey Brownberry that had seen my Vlogmas and had seen me with Ezra and stuff on there, and they got to meet him in real life. And Mars gave Ezra a little pencil which said, Hey Brownberry likes your ideas. So Ezra's just like absolutely in love with her and running around with his little pencil. That's another thing. Amelia bought Ezra some little toys and stuff as well. So just, it was so nice, and there were so many gifts, and there were so many hugs, and so many lovely people, and it was just such a fantastic experience. The marketplace was so varied as well. You know, I got a few other little bits and bobs of trinkets. I won't bore you with everything that I got. Just sort of showed you the main things, but I got some gifts for my mum. I got myself a bracelet that was all stitch markers from Ankatin Björg, and all sorts of things. The final day that we spent there, myself and Richard kind of just explored the city while we were there. So that was the Saturday. We attempted to hike up Arthur's Seat in the morning, but not only was I not fit enough to get up there, which is just horrifying considering the miles that we walked around Yosemite only sort of 6 months ago or so, but also Ezra was getting really cold and miserable and upset. So we kind of got about, I don't know, maybe halfway up, if that, something like that, and turned around and came back down again. We decided we needed to save some energy for the rest of the day. So then we went into the centre and had a wander around Old Town. Shauna of Adelaide Cottage had sent me a message saying, oh, if you see any Harry Potter places, do snap a picture for me. So I found a couple of Harry Potter themed places for Shauna, so I can put a little bit of footage in of that. And then we had some lunch and another wander around, and then that was kind of it. And then Sunday morning we came home. So it's been a lovely little relaxing getaway. Aidan stayed at home. He had school, so unfortunately he couldn't come with us. But with my mum and dad being next door, what happened was my dad came and stayed over with Aidan at night, and then during sort of the day after school and stuff, Aidan was round at theirs having his tea and stuff like that. So it's all worked out nicely. Anyway, that's kind of it. That's kind of the end of today's episode. So thank you very much if you're still with me at this point. I do appreciate it. I know haul and stash and stuff like that, it's not for everybody, but I know some people do enjoy it as well. So it's nice to be able to share that with the people that want to see it. And yeah, so next time I will be announcing the winner of my giveaway, and so I will see you as soon as I get around to recording again. Don't know when that's going to be. Next month, April, is my birthday month, and this time round it's a milestone birthday for me. I'm actually turning 40, and I'm going to be going to New York with my sister, so that's going to be lots of fun, and there's going to be parties and all sorts of things. So I don't know at what point in time I'll be able to get to record. But yeah, as soon as I do get an opportunity, I will do so. So you've probably got at least, I would say, 3 weeks or so to send in your entries for the competition. So yeah, and I will see you next time. In between now and then, you look after yourselves, take care, and happy knitting.